For this problem, we're asked to sketch the asymptotes and graph the function. So the first thing we should do is figure out the asymptotes. Remember that this is what the standard function looks like, y equals a over x minus h plus k. And our asymptotes are x equals h and y equals k. So my two asymptotes here are going to be x equals 1, and you can actually see that here in the table. Remember that whatever x value gives you the error, that's your vertical asymptote. And then the horizontal asymptote would be y equals 2, and you get that just by looking here at the k value. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and put those into my graph. So x equals 1, that's a vertical asymptote at 1. And then I have a horizontal asymptote at y equals 2. Okay, now for my table, what I've done is I've put it into my calculator, and I showed you down here in the bottom left where I'm writing a star. That's how you should type it in. If you don't type it in like that, if you type it in actually using a fraction, when you look at your table, it will give you fractions. And it's a lot easier to graph when you see these decimals, in my opinion. Okay, so what you want to do for these types of functions is you want to figure out where your vertical asymptote is, which I just circled in red. It's also highlighted on my table. And then whatever your a value is, so in this problem the a value is 3, that's how many numbers above and below you should include on your table. So I'm going to write it down here in the bottom right hand corner, what you would need to have written out by hand. And really all you're doing is copying down, but just so that you're clear on exactly what is expected. So here is the error, and that's our vertical asymptote. And then I want 3 numbers above and 3 numbers below because the a value was 3. So that means I would need 0, -1, -2, and then 2, 3, and 4. So 3 numbers above, 3 numbers below. And now I'm just going to copy them down from my table. So -2 is 1, and then 0.5 and -1. And then 2, 5, 3, 3.5, and 4, 3. And now what we told you earlier when we learned this lesson is because we're using more points in our table than usual, what we're going to do is cross out anything that's not a whole number. So it actually didn't really matter if you included, if you typed it in as a fraction or not, but I still prefer to see the decimals in my table. So I'm now going to cross out the ones we're not going to use. So anything that has a y value that's a decimal, we're not going to use. Okay, so now I'm going to plot all of these points in yellow that are not crossed out. So here we go. So -2, +1, 0, -1. Then I have my vertical asymptote, which I already put in red, and now the point 0.25. And then 4, 3. Okay, and then I'm just going to kind of connect these dots. You have to pretty much know what this graph looks like. You could actually graph it on your calculator. It would show you. Remember that your asymptotes will not show up on your calculator, but it'll give you the general idea of where it is. So you just need to know where the curves are, so which corners they're in, and then these points kind of tell you how stretched or shrunk your graph is going to be. So that's it.